Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Tell. And today is the third episode of the Learn segment, and we will be talking about magic and logic. Now, why are we talking about magic and logic? Now, I have seen that magic and logic have been at each other's throat, so to speak. Uh, People who of science, people of logic, always say that magic is a bunch of bullshit, a bunch of crap. And people who of spirituality or magic always look at science and say, you don't know enough. You don't know what you're talking about. Well, that's where the problem comes in. But you have to understand that both aspects, magic and logic, coexist in the same plane. Without magic, there would be no logic. And without logic, you wouldn't be able to understand what magic was all about. Magic was very predominant in human history. And that's where a lot of folklore, a lot of superstition, and something that only a witch or a warlock or somebody with supernatural powers or some supernatural gift would be able to do. And a lot of times people found it very, very scary. And as you all know, anything that we don't understand or anything that is scary is shunned away or destroyed. And that's probably what happened in human history for a long period of time. Whereas during that time, what most of these witches or warlocks or whatever they were called were doing was probably alchemy and chemistry and something that is very normal in today's world. Talking about today's world, if you look at today's world, it runs a lot on logic. And when you aren't able to understand certain things, we tend to slide into the magic area of the whole aspect of whatever is happening. It could be spirituality, it could be religion, it could be anything that we don't understand suddenly becomes magic. If we take a few moments to ourselves and say, you know what, I want to know how all this works, and go deeper into it. And today we have access to the internet, we have access to so much of information out there that we can actually research on our own to find out what's actually happening in any aspect that we don't understand. And if we don't understand something and we're not able to find out what it is, research into it or experiment into it by yourself. Learn what you need to do and experiment into it rather than just believing that this is what it is. This is something that cannot be touched or felt, or it's a supernatural power. Look into facts of how and why. Superstition has come from somewhere, and the more we shun it out, the more information we realize that we don't have. We're just saying that this doesn't exist and that's it. No, everything exists. It's just that we need to know, we need to discover further or experiment further into what it actually is. Superstition has come from somewhere. Now, superstition is not just somebody's fear that is manifested into something that says, oh, don't do this or don't do that. It's not about that. There is something behind it. And we as logical people would be losing out on a lot if we just say, you know what, superstition is full of bullshit. There is fact behind it. And it was probably put into play from a religious standpoint or a fear standpoint because it's something that people would follow on a regular basis as a routine or something that they needed to do. And as you all know, all of us don't really follow a routine as such or do certain things that are needed to be done for a comfortable, successful life or whatever it is. And superstition kind of helped a lot of people follow a certain path or a certain routine in life. It doesn't necessarily have to hold steady today because times have changed, people have changed, information has become a lot more. Today you can research more into superstition to identify what it actually meant, why it was certain things were done. And we have the capabilities of doing that today with basic logic. And when we shun it off, that doesn't really help. Superstition is, let's put it this way. Superstition was something that came out because people didn't really understand certain things in life on how things worked and things like that. Today, we shun away superstition because we don't understand superstition. So we are in the same boat as a person who is superstitious was or is, because we aren't willing to look at what superstition was, superstition actually, what information superstition actually has behind it. So magic also has a not so nice space to it in today's world, where I've seen magic is used in a lot of spaces to take advantage of people's beliefs or people's weaknesses or people's misfortunes, if you may. Because people want to believe in something, people want something to work in their lives. And sometimes what happens is a lot of us don't know what to do to make things work because we don't have the information, and we sometimes don't know how to get that information to make that thing work in our life. This is where a lot of people take advantage of people giving them a false sense of security or a false sense of um, being. At this place, you have to understand that if you ask the right questions and if you were curious enough to try and discover or experiment or research more into whatever you want to know or whatever you're being told, then you become a person who is able to stand their own ground, who's able to understand what's happening rather than get taken for a ride, right? Don't just jump into the river just because everybody's in the river. Stand on the banks and watch the river, because you get to identify what you want to pick and what you don't want to pick in the river. Don't jump in. Pick what you want. Redivert it. Do whatever you want in that aspect rather than going with the flow of what everyone is doing. The plus side of magic is that you get to know that there is a lot more to life than what you just see or what you're living, right? Like you saw in the first episode of Learn, where we talked about perception. Life is about perception. It's about what you perceive. When you perceive certain things in life, that's how life shows you, or that's what you see in life. Even though there are 100 different things in the world, you see only those things that you perceive life to be. It's like the other example I gave you earlier also. It's about reading a book. When you read a book, you will read each word. When you're reading that word, you are not going to see the rest of the words around until you join all those words together. When you read the whole book or when you read the whole sentence, that makes sense. That's more or less what life is, how life is, right? You have to see everything around you, not just one aspect of it, to make sense of life. When you're aware of the infinitesimal state of life, you get to choose what you want from it rather than saying, I don't have a choice. You do. Everyone has a choice. And to have that choice, you need to, like we said earlier, research on whatever you want to, discover more, experiment if necessary, to find out how things work or how your life is working. Sometimes, yes, in the logical space, it tends to stop us in our tracks because we look at only facts. And logic or science doesn't have the answers to everything as of now. It's constantly discovering, it's constantly researching and finding out new things. And you can be part of that train that discovers new things, or you can be part of that train that buys what's sold to you. Nobody out there knows everything. And further to that, nobody out there has any clue about your life. Nobody can tell you this is what you have to do in your life and it'll be great. No, because they are talking from their perspective of life, and their life is great. They've done something awesome and that's working for them. But when you follow in their footsteps, it doesn't necessarily have to be a great life for you. right? So the whole idea of us talking about magic and logic here is to give you a clearer picture, or a clearer understanding of the fact that neither magic nor logic is separate. They're both integrated within each other. And it's about how magic turns into logic when you discover what magic is about. It's about sitting on in a magic show and looking at a magician and saying, "Wow, that's so beautiful," till you know what the magician actually did. When you know what the magician did, you're not going to be wowed anymore because you know what's happening, and you can actually stand on stage and do the magic and have a lot of people turn around and say, "Wow," to you. Wouldn't you rather be in that space rather than be the audience, be one among the audience that stands over there and says wow to one person who stands on stage and does a magic trick? Find out how that magic trick is done. And when I say magic trick, I don't mean a magic trick, I mean about life. When somebody says life is great, find out how it's great. Find out how you can have a beautiful life, how you can be rich, how you can have whatever you want in life. We're all on a different path. We're all on a path to find happiness in our life, to find a place where it's very comfortable, where it's easy in our life. Life is easy once you start identifying what your life is about. You have to first go within to identify who you are, and from there you can identify what you want in life. Because if you don't know who you are and you buy who you are from a lot of people around, then there's a different path that you will take. And I wouldn't say it will not work for you, because sometimes it does. But you're still, at the end of the day, going through someone else's path. You're still, at the end of the day, leading someone else's dream or life. So if you want to identify how to be happy and how life works and how to get whatever you want in life, I would say do not separate these two. Merge them together. Identify what certain things that are told in magic is about. Why is it said? It's not just said for the sake of it being said. It's said through history. There's a lot of folklore behind it. So obviously it has been blown out of proportion in certain areas and stuff like that, but there are aspects within that that make sense, that is truth. So find out what that truth is. It could be a needle in a haystack, but there is still that needle in the haystack. And finding that needle would probably make a huge difference in your life. So thank you very much for watching. I hope this helped you all identify whether you would like to be inclined towards magic or logic, or whether you can integrate both together and live a beautiful life. If you liked what you saw, please do like and subscribe to our channel, and press the bell icon for notifications on our upcoming videos. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.